son was born with a heart defect, and oh boy, it's a rough ride. You know what I mean? And so yeah, and like he told me the last 2 days he's been complaining about chest pain, and I called cardiology this morning, and I'm like, hey, can I send a transmission over? Because he's got this monitor in his room, and it just constantly collects data from his pacemaker, and they're like, yeah, when he gets home today, send it over, and I'm just constantly like, oh my gosh, pulmonary embolism. What if you're having a heart attack? What if you're like, I'm just all over the board. Like, it would be nice to just kind of be mom, not doctor mom. You know what I mean? So no, I'm okay with 3 for sure.
Do you want to talk to this Candace lady, or would you like a peaceful?
I mean, I'm kind of like Rye, like it's old. That dog don't bark no more, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of an old subject. Been there, done that. Bought the T-shirt, sold it, moved on. Why are we still passing around the raggedy T-shirt, pretending like it's something new and inspiring?
Sure.
You know, like when we say the debates are educational because you learn new things, I would like to learn new things.
Exactly.
To let the walls, the barriers fall down. The ceremony concludes with a ringing of a glass commemorating the temple of Jerusalem that has been destroyed, and that we cannot have full joy.
Yeah, I've been hearing all sorts of wild stories today, but yeah. I'll post the disclaimer.
Oh, I had a comment earlier when we were discussing about how, like, all week you guys have been running into people with, like, spiritual conscience and where they're not, like, connecting with the deity of God and things of this sort. And I just wanted to add to that and say that I think it's very coincidental that every time we hear this, there's always a mention of the Bible. Occasionally they'll throw, like, there'll be like a Quran mention or a Buddha mention or something like that, but almost always you hear about the Bible. And I'm like, you're getting there, you're so close. It's unfortunate that you're talking about something you haven't quite fully read or understood yet. And it's, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. I've only ever heard like one person say that like he read the Quran and like became like how you're talking, like more like spiritual. But then so it literally always is. It's weird, right? It's like all these people come against specifically Christianity, but very few people specifically address Islam. And I think it's just because maybe they have their origins in Christianity. But it's so true. It's like, oh, so you're spiritual, but you're not like religious, but you only ever talk about the Bible. You never talk about like Hinduism or anything.
So, yep. So I just posted the.
Stop talking to each other.
I know you don't. I wasn't talking to you, anti-Discord lady.
Well, I mean, we start all these new things, right? We did chatter, no one's there, no one's here. I don't know how y'all have the brain capacity to continue to like start these things, and I don't want to have to remember sign-ins and all that. Like it's bad enough I have to remember doctor sign-ins because they want you to sign into all these stupid things. It's too much.
Holy crap, how many portals are there? It seems like there's like 90-something.
They're like, have you signed up for the portal? I'm like, no, and there's a reason why. Okay, I'm old-fashioned. I like the face-to-face. I like you to call me. I don't want to have to read it and then go, what the heck does this mean? And you still gotta call. And I'm pretty medically savvy, you know what I mean? But like when you just say, oh, and I even had a doctor once who said, oh, like it looks like his numbers are a little high here. And then he calls me on the phone, and I'm like, okay, what about this? And he goes, oh, wait, I think I misread it. I'm like, well, hot dog. Notice this would happen if this was sort of open.
She's an extension of
Don't get me started.
whoever she's a,
Yeah, welcome to my monthly appointments right now.
I'm trying to make this work.
Where are you at here? Are you like once a month, or are you?
Yeah, I'm at once a month. I'm 25 weeks, so I still have, I would say like 10 weeks before, or well, probably like 8 until I go bi-weekly.
Is this your first or?
Yes.
Oh, well, I went to 40 weeks with all my pregnancies, and I went over with my latter two. Yeah, I went 42, 41, and 40. And the only reason I went through 40 on my first is because I was induced. Because they were like, he's big. And I'm like, okay. And they scared the crap out of me. I'm a young mom, you know.
Yeah, right.
Now knowing what I know about my body and how women, you know, deal with larger.
Absolutely.
I wish I would not have let them talk me into.
Yes. I'm trying to not do anything at all. I don't want any medications. I don't want ibuprofen. I don't want none of it. I'm gonna do my absolute best to let my body do what it can. Now,
Lord bless you, my dear sister.
the Lord really needs to bless me because I was 110 pounds and 5 foot when I got pregnant. So I'm working with a little room here. So
Well, so I'm tall. I'm a small frame, but I'm tall as well. So they say, here's what the doctor says. They say, well, mine did. They said that tall women, or women in general that have a long torso, you know, you can have short legs, longer torso, or long legs, shorter torso. Anyways, that you hide babies really well. And so my belly was like evenly distributed. It wasn't like torpedo belly like you see in some of the shorter women. And so they were like, he is big. And like my stomach was measuring, but like still they're like, he's big. And
Well, how big was he when he was born?
8 pounds, 13 ounces,
that's normal.
22 inches long.
That's so big.
8 ounces isn't big.
Yeah, it's not like 10 or 8
pounds is what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah, it's on my, he was like an ounce away from being a whole 9. But yeah, like 10-pound babies are big babies.
Yeah,
But,
I agree.
like my younger sister who has a similar frame to me, her babies were like 6 pounds. So like those are like tiny babies to me because
Same.
I only ever know 8-pound babies. My daughter was 8 pounds 13 ounces, 20 inches long. My son with a heart defect was 8 pounds 7 ounces, 21 inches long. I'm tall. My husband's tall. We have tall kids, so.
Yeah, my husband is 6'4".
Yeah, so
Oh my gosh.
He's huge.
Yeah, my husband is very, and that was in his like, he was in an apprenticeship, so he was not doing his like labor work. So his body was very, very calm in those months. So yeah, my husband is a very, very big guy. I'm a little nervous. It's scary.
No, you'll be fine.
But I'm having a girl, so fingers
That's good.
crossed.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
I got luck there, you know.
I think you have to wait until they start
He is in
kindergarten.
hell.
Yeah,
He
they
is
have to.
absolutely in hell right now. He's like, oh, I come back, I leave, and a Hebrew Israelite lady ran. Oh, we found out that Candace is a Hebrew Israelite.
Oh yeah, Nate, update.
Oh, well, also update, right, you have to wait until your child starts kindergarten. It's that moment the child's teacher will actually tell you what sex your child is.
Oh yeah, that's right. My child is not going to public school or private school because I can't trust anyone to raise my children.
Has Chris wielded his mod power appropriately?
Actually,
No, he's been-
it's a great mom.
He's been benevolent.
This is why I'd make an excellent dictator, Nate, because I'm a benevolent dictator. Don't you guys all want me in charge of the government now?
There was a moment where he almost invited Candace back up here, though. I will.
I did ask though before
He
he
did
did.
ask.
Such a good ruler. He asks his
Yeah,
servants. Yeah.
His denizens, the denizens of the land.
What's our life to come up?
Okay, so there's this Ed Dennis orphan wants to come up. What is that about? Do we know this person?
Hey, there's some chick at the gate. Do we let her in?
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's check it out. Here, Ed Edom's orphan. Okay.
Edom's orphan.
Edom's orphan.
Like,
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah.
I wasn't reading that right.
That's right.
Way to
Right,
go.
Courtney, it's all yours.
Shalom Aleichem, friend.
Remember, this only has to be better than the pregnancy topic.
Oh,
but
okay.
I am a Christian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like Chris's
one
even the
second.
PTR. Total
Hey, Rye, are you gonna keep the placenta?
That's a great question. I haven't decided.
Chris wants to cook something with it.
I don't know the benefits yet, so I haven't done enough research to know the benefits of doing
You
anything.
need to get with Courtney, she's gonna school you on the whole thing.
I certainly am not one of the crunchy moms that eat her placenta. I know that there are people out there that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that one. That one's off.
Okay, Ian, back to you. What's up, man? How you doing?
But you gotta put the placenta on the baby, man. It keeps the skin soft, is what I heard.
Do delayed cord clamping for sure. That's very healthy.
I have heard that.
Yeah, we did that with our daughter, delayed cord clutch.
Hey, look, if you're gonna eat the placenta, like, why are you stopping at the placenta?
What?
There's all sorts of beneficial things that come out. Anyway, so Edam's the orphan. How are you today, buddy?
Yeah, I'm blessed. How y'all doing?
Not too bad. What do you got for us today?
You supposed to be asking the Christians, Christian mods here, or what?
Sure. Let's see what happens. What's up?
Yeah, well, the first thing I think to ask you is, are you guys Calvinists?
Whoa!
Rye,
Straight out the gate. That's a shotgun.
Me and Rye are Calvinists.
That's a sawed-off shotgun right there.
Courtney and myself are not.
Yes, Courtney is in good, and you in good shape. Calvinism needs to be predestined to die, man.
Oh no! Chris.
I like this guy. I like this guy. Let him talk.
It's been preordained since the foundation of Calvinism
You
was
did,
founded.
Chris. Look what you did.
It's all my fault. I used my free will to bring him up here. That's what it gives me.
Incorrectly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Actually, this is probably a part of the Lord's plan, though.
Yeah, this was always gonna happen. What are you talking
If
about?
all things are decreed, I do not disagree. All things are decreed. So Edom, why is it that you dislike Calvinism? I'm not gonna say hate on.
Or did you have another question first?
No, that was a question, man, about Calvinism. I actually can't stomach Calvin. I can't stomach Calvinists, especially like extreme, like 5-point Calvinists. It just does something.
Well, are you Calvinists?
I'm not aware.
6
I'm not aware of like.
Is there a Calvinist light? I've never heard of any other Calvinists.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Some people claim, oh yeah, I believe in two points of Calvinism. They'll say stuff like that. I believe in one.
I mean, I'm fairly certain if you're a Christian, you're going to believe in more than you think. It probably just has.
Yeah, you just hash it out differently.
Before you get
Yeah,
going on this, can you give me 90 seconds? My popcorn's all.
Exactly. Hey, Greg. Now, see, Greg's another Calvinist, so now you're surrounded by Calvinists.
Well, I think Courtney and
Is this like the Hebrew Israelites? Like when someone mentions Calvinists, like they all come in here. Are we gonna be like rabbits?
Remind me of
Calvinists. I blame Calvinists for the Hebrew Israelites. How about that?
You're wrong for that.
Wait, why? Wait, I gotta know why.
Calvinism, because they believe in God. It's literally Calvinism. It's literally, look, we're the black Hebrew Israelites, and we're predestined to be righteous. Then the white people are predestined to go to hell. That's literally the idea.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But they're not like Calvinists.
No, not Albert.
He's Calvinist. What's his name? Dang, LeBron. I ain't Calvinist.
That's Ron.
Yeah.
The Unitarian and the Calvinist, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. You're not like a open theist, right?
No, definitely not. No.
Wait, let's get this out of the, like, you're great right now. Let's like rule out Chris's checklist. Are you Seventh-day Adventist?
No.
Are you some sort of weird spiritist who also follows Jesus? Do you play with Christian tarot cards, grave soap, or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Alright, we'll stop there. He's good.
I actually had a question for Courtney, but she's not a mod. I don't know if I can ask it or not.
You can ask whatever, man. No one cares.
She's a mod.
Yeah, no,
She's a mod.
No, It's the fact. It's the fact of.
It's like the only thing I agree with Rick Real on. Like, he says he's Calvinist, but hates Calvinism culture. Like, he nails it.
Yeah, I guess I can say that. Calvinism culture. That's fair. I can say that.
It would be like totally not right. She sings good. Greg sings all right. But you know what I mean, right? It's like okay, fine. Look, for academics, like, look, I guess you tie up your bows nice and neat, dot the I's and cross the T's, and we get it. Good job. But it's like for whatever reason, the culture that comes with it, it's like there's so many people who are grumpy and like yelling and screaming and like, fine, burn in hell, demon. God wants you to burn. It's like, even if you believe that, you're like, well, look, if you reject Christ, you're gonna get hell, and that's unfortunate. You're like, it is a good and righteous thing. You die and burn in hell.
Yeah, it's sick.
Hey, who let Andrew in the room?
Yeah, who let Andrew in the room? Andrew,
I mean, it's only a matter of time until someone says, well, yeah, it's only a matter of time until someone says, is it a good thing when someone gets raped? And some Calvinists is like, absolutely, praise Jesus.
Sick.
Even if in a different way, someone is
Calvinist. Happened. I hope that you recovered, man, and I've seen a change in you, man. That's really cool. So I'm glad you're here today. Yeah, much love, bro. I just want to say one thing. I just want to ask you this. I'm gonna shut up. Did they say what the cause was? I'm just curious. Cancer's always kind of weird.
So in my case, it's something like the shitty genetic lottery. Like for my father and his father, they both died near or around the age of 40. And for one of them, it was a basal cell carcinoma. For me, it was a squamous cell. But it's basically you just have a few spelling mistakes and a 3 billion spelling test, 3 billion letter spelling test. If you fuck up a few wrong letters in the wrong spot. And so in this case, it's like highly inheritable. But literally, I'm beating up the statistics with respect to survival for that kind of person. And it's only because of like advances in medicine since my father passed away. His father didn't even get treatment. My father did, but it didn't save him. It actually made him worse. The radiation, this is one thing to be very careful for everyone, is that with your genome, you can know, because there's already been studies of people like you, you can know to a certain degree whether you're going to react well or not to a certain kind of treatment. In my case, because I was near Chernobyl, there was a lot of data about people who were near Chernobyl as well. I was near Chernobyl as a baby. So it was like I was born in January and Chernobyl, I believe, was April. And so I was in Poland, so radioactive rain and other things, and literally just starts the clock. Like 25 to 40 years later, you're going to get some sort of cancer that might be super terminal if you don't catch it early. But the saving grace is that something like 80 to 90% of cancers are treatable if caught early. So make sure you get, like, whether you like it or not, getting a genome sequence does help you accelerate to the front of the line for all sorts of specialized clinical trials that give you the best odds. But I will say that there were a lot of things through that experience that, I said it wasn't something that I would wish on my worst enemy, but it's also the best thing that's ever happened to me because it's made me a better person in every way, and I would never want to go back and not experience it. So, like, from the perspective of, like, what you were talking about with Jesus, that, hey, Jesus was told that he was going to be overwhelmed, and one of his disciples was like, yo, we won't fucking let that happen, bro. And he was like, no, you got it wrong. You got to let it happen. Wow. That's how we show growth, So for what it's worth, I've come to really appreciate the stories from Christianity by virtue of their focus on suffering, which is the thing that defines us strongest. And it's not a guilt trip. It's like, Christian doctrine, gotcha. But that actually sets up a better operating system in your brain than any other theology or most other theologies, and it naturally translates to physics. So as a physicist, I'm like, come on over. There's not many incompatibilities. It's just like the left hand and the right hand. You need both hands to understand the world. And so that's kind of the place of religion with respect to science. So I'll leave it there for now, but thanks.
That was amen, brother. That was like
That was like edifying. Io, thank you for that, bro. I super am stoked that you pulled through, and I hope you continue to do so, and that you learned like awesome lessons from that. I saw the change when I talked to you last. And
You learned that from drunk Jesus. Now you're still
well, drunk Jesus. We can talk about that, Loki.
He was a drunk God.
But just to be clear, well, this is weird, Loki, because in the other room you said you're a Christian.
Nah, you're a Christian. Why can't I have all
But that's a sin. You think Jesus
That's a sin. Are you sure?
Yes, the Bible teaches drunkenness is.
Jesus says otherwise.
Okay, we'll talk about it, brother. But hold on, real quick. I just want to say, when you said that the only reason you lived basically was the advances of medicine and stuff, and maybe a little Jesus too. I might say that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not even kidding. So check this. Like some of the people that I work with and folks, like there was a Korean family that got the whole church to kind of pray, and like I will say, like when I heard that it was going to happen, and I was like, because I'm a physicist, I was like, I want to see if I feel something. So I was looking at the clock during the time of mass. And I can't say that I didn't feel anything. Maybe it's just me psyching myself out. But I will take all of the Jesus points because I'm just happy to still be here. And that's actually what I do now is in medical diagnostics to make early actually very possible and very cheap. And so I'm just trying to pay it forward. Every minute is a blessing.
Thank you so much for your, good morning, everybody. I'm gonna go back down. I just want to say good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning. I so appreciate this segment of chillism because we do go back and forth sometimes and act crazy, but at the end of the day, this is where we grow. This is where, we find out about each other and just kind of encourage one another. And I just want to say great combo. And low-key, you holding your own. Okay. But stop calling a drunkard.
Also a demon, bro.
He's also a recovered drunkard. That's the point.
Yeah,
He became a drunk. We don't hear about those years. It's like, he was experimenting with Buddhism. It's all good, bro. The sluts and hoes and pimps. It's all good. All the gangsters.
I ain't say all that.
Yeah.
Look, I'll say this. Look.
I wanted to jump in.
Hold on, Jinx. Come on. Everybody's cut me off. Let me finish.
Jinx wants to talk about spiritualism. Go ahead.
Come on, Jinx.
I don't have to go until third.
Okay, we'll come back after work. You can tell us later. Don't worry about it. Hop out the car, Jinx. Go ahead, Jacob.
Shut up, Rick.
Come on.
Let him say
So
something.
you need Rick to give permission to talk? That's
Go
weird.
ahead, Jacob.
Wait, what did you say, Jimmy?
I just wanted to tell Io that I love him so much, and I loved hearing his story, and I was very curious about his story previously, but I never wanted to ask him because I didn't want to be invasive of his life. But hearing that he beat the odds, that makes me so happy inside because obviously I see people, lose their battle every single day. And I'm just so glad that you're here. Thank the Lord. I'm very full of love for you. I am very glad that you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, everyone, for all the stuff. Hey, Nathan, what are you doing, Nathan? Stop.
No, she was negative.
But I just appreciate, even though I argue against it, I've come to move closer to what religion talks about. Like I said, it's the right hand and the left hand. The right hand is the more dominant hand for most humans. But the left hand gives you a different perspective on the world, and literally that's down to the molecular level. That there's something like handedness down to the molecule. So at every level of analysis, there's something like that kind of dual symmetry. Even in the analysis itself, you have things that you can determine from evidence, and what I would say is apologetics. My definition is truth from logic alone. And it's weird how much of God you can construct just from starting from logic alone. And that's where Nathan and I would actually agree, because that points you in the direction of St. Aquinas.
And you know
Five arguments for.
And you know what, Io? I'm going to take that as what to do now. Use logic and truth. Come on, real quick. Come on.
Well, somebody you show us how to use was a drop.
Yeah, I got you right now. So let me finish. So, Aoife, can you move your mic, please? It's just background music. It's okay. So let me read a verse to you. And it says, you got Matthew, Mark, and Luke all saying this. I tell you, Jesus said, are free. Like, come on. For I tell you that from now I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. So now, what we need to pay attention to is what Andrew said earlier. He said idioms. Idiom. What we just heard here was an idiom called fruit of the mind. Within Greek and Jewish literature, especially the book of Psalms and Proverbs, it says the fruit of a vine as a blessing referring to wine. And it is speaking of wine. We read it. So now we hear your Lord Jesus saying he will not drink again of wine, of alcoholic wine that comes from the vine. So now here you go, hold on, let me finish. So now he says he will not drink it again until it's new wine. This is another phrase, oh my God. So Jesus himself testifies again when he says the Son of Man has come drinking and eating. And then the Pharisees, who have we made clear earlier, they had accurate observation. They said Jesus was not over 30 years old. They said Moses, they made their conscience aware. They said Moses gave permission for divorce. So mostly everything they said to us is very accurate so far. And you admitted earlier that when they said this, two of those statements were true. He did eat and drink with tax collectors. So why would it not be true? So the question truly is, did he get drunk? I'm saying if you drink this often, you are an alcoholic. And like Ayo said, he gave it up. He said, I will not drink it again when the suffering began. In order to show us how to quit an addiction, in order to endure, and show us that he knew what it was to be a human. Oh, I think God is a God in heaven that knows what it is to be a human. I don't think you know the gospel.
That's like making a game and then playing the shit out of every character class so you know the world better than the characters themselves. That's what it.
Woo! Now that's how you take away a person's Christian.
Before you today as a survivor of both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I want to thank Congressman Massey and Connor for their role in putting together this very, very important bill. Every day of this journey toward healing has come at a profound cost to my mental health. But I am here. I chose to come because this bill really matters. I speak today not only in service of my own recovery from trauma inflicted by Maxwell and Epstein, but to honor the lives, the courage and sacrifices of Virginia Giuffre, Caroline Andriano, and others who could not continue. Their voices mattered. Their stories must not be forgotten. Accountability is what makes a society civilized. Equal opportunity and equal consequence for all. Consequences are not about punishment alone. They exist to deter future harm, to protect vulnerable, and to set a standard of justice. If Ghislaine Maxwell were pardoned, it would undermine all the sacrifices I made to testify and make mockery of mine and all survivors' suffering. That is why the Epstein Files Transparency Act is so essential. It requires the Department of Justice release all the records related to Epstein and Maxwell investigations, flight logs, immunity deals, internal communications, and even the records surrounding Epstein's detention and death. And crucially, it forbids withholding documents simply because of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. This is about ending secrecy wherever abuse of power takes root. But transparency alone is not enough. Survivors need protection, resources, and legal support. If this Congress is serious about justice, then let this moment also affirm your commitment to provide victims with the legal aid they need to confront abusers, to navigate complex systems, and to reclaim their power. Transparency must be matched by support, or else too many victims will remain silent out of fear and lack of access. The statistics demand action. Nearly 1 in 5 women in America will experience rape or attempted rape in her lifetime. Every 74 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted. Every 9 minutes, that person is a child. These are not numbers, they are people. They are your daughters, your sons, your constituents, your friends. Statistically, 1 in 5 of your families will face this nightmare. The days of sweeping this under the rug are over. We, the survivors, say no more. I want to help create a world where survivors of sexual abuse and abuse of power can come forward safely. And I ask Congress to join me in that effort, not only by passing this bill, but by ensuring that those who step forward have legal support to face their abusers and see justice done. When Judge Berman gave Epstein survivors the chance to finally speak, the world listened. After so many years, survivors were heard. That moment was historic, and so is this moment. For me, the turning point was when I had my daughter, and on the day she was born, I knew I had a responsibility to protect her and to protect all children. I have to use my voice, the voice that had been silenced by fear and shame for so many years. Make no mistake, my polished exterior is a shield hiding a wound that still bleeds. But through this wound, I have found purpose. To be part of lasting change in how we confront exploitation and abuse. And to be clear, the only motive for opposing this bill would be to conceal wrongdoing. You have a choice. Stand with the truth, or with the lies that have protected predators for decades. I am no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. And I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us. Because we need it now, and this country needs it now. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Andy Farmer, and I was 16 years old when I was flown to New Mexico to spend a weekend with Epstein and Maxwell. That same year, 1996, my sister, Maria Farmer, reported what happened to me there, along with reporting her own assault at their hands and their theft of sensitive photos of herself, of me, and our younger sister that she had taken for her work as a figurative painter. I am now 46 years old. 30 years later, we still do not know why that report wasn't properly investigated, or why Epstein and his associates were allowed to harm hundreds, if not thousands, of other girls and young women. We have never been told whether those images were found when they discovered a large amount of child sexual abuse material on his property. As a psychologist, I understand that when the system's meant to protect us, recreate the abuse cycle, the betrayal that occurs can be just as damaging as the original trauma. This happens when survivors of these crimes are not believed, when our well-being is not weighed as heavily as those who have more resources or more privilege, and when perpetrators of these crimes are given a platform rather than the survivors of them. For so many years, It felt like Epstein's criminal behavior was an open secret. Not only did many others participate in the abuse, it is clear that many were aware of his interest in girls and very young women and chose to look the other way because it benefited them to do so. They wanted access to his circle and his money. Their choice to align with his power left those of us who had been harmed by this man and his associates feeling very isolated. I could never have imagined being here today and this chorus of support that we have all received. I have been sent so many notes and messages from people with no direct connection to this case who have expressed their solidarity with us. And I believe that is because, in part, as Anushka explained so well, this is an extremely widespread issue of child sexual abuse, of sexual exploitation, of sexual violence. This affects almost every family in some way. From my conversations with women in these last few days and from all of the support that we've received, it's very clear to me that we are not going away, we are not going to be quiet, and we are not going to give up. And I ask the American public to stand with us and not give up. At a time with record high levels of distrust in our institutions and a perception that there are two Americas, one for those with power and privilege and one for everyone else, passing this Epstein transparency bill is one important step that can be taken to prove to Americans that the government does not side with sexual perpetrators. A thorough public review of this information is an important step in preventing the type of systemic failures that have occurred in this case and harmed all of us. An important step towards healing for those involved. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'd like to say thank you everyone for being here today on this very powerful and special day for all of us here. My name is Marina Lacerda. I was minor victim 1 in federal indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in New York in 2019. I was one of dozens of girls that I personally know who were forced into Jeffrey's mansion on 9 East 71 Street in New York City when we were just kids. Today is the first time that I ever speak publicly about what happened to me. I never thought that I would find myself here. The only reason that I am here is because it feels like the people who matter in this country finally care about what we have to say. As an immigrant from Brazil, I feel empowered knowing that the little girl struggling to get by at 14 and 15 years old finally has a voice. For the first time, I feel like I matter as an American. I was only 14 years old when I met Jeffrey. It was the summer of high school. I was working 3 jobs to try to support my mom and my sister when a friend of mine in the neighborhood told me that I could make $300 to give an older guy a massage. It went from a dream job to the worst nightmare. Jeffrey assistant Leslie Groff would call me and tell me that I needed to be at the house so often that I ended up dropping out of high school before 9th grade. And I never went back. From 14 to 17 years old, I went and worked for Jeffrey instead of receiving an education. Every day I hoped that he would offer me a real job as one of his assistants or something important. I would finally have made it big, as, like we say, the American dream. That day never came. I had no way out. I was, until he finally told me that I was too old. There are many pieces of my story that I can't remember, no matter how hard I try. The constant state of wonder causes me so much fear and so much confusion. My therapist says that my brain is just trying to protect itself. But it's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. The worst part is that the government is still in possession right now of the documents and information about that could help me remember and get over all of this maybe and help me heal. They have documents with my name on them that were confiscated from Jeffrey Epstein's house and could help me put the pieces of my own life back together. But I don't have any of it. And I know the same is true for many of these women. We are here to support this bill today, not only for transparency, but for the American people. But if the government is going to release these documents to the public, describing the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein and others, the least that they can do is give me my documents that they have about me. The other survivors deserve the same respect from our government. While identifying information must be redacted to the public, it is equally important to provide the victims themselves with unredacted information. I will never forget when the FBI agent showed up in my door in 2008. Jeffrey Epstein hired a lawyer to represent me, or more like to represent him, I like to say. I couldn't ask any questions, and I had no idea what was going on. I was terrified. Until today, I think most of us are still terrified. I thought somebody was going to kill me. I thought something was going to happen to my sister and my mother. It went further out to even maybe thinking something would happen in Brazil with my family. And then one day, the lawyer said that everything was just gonna go away. Like nothing happened. I didn't need to testify. When I asked him why, he gave me no explanation. That was it. So why? Why was I never called to testify then? We could have saved so many women. We could have saved so many lives from being abused. Why did he get away with it in 2008? Why was he able to go on in the abuse with hundreds of girls after the Florida investigation? Why didn't they let me testify to help stop him? Our government could have saved so many women, but Jeffrey Epstein was too important, and those women didn't matter. Why? Well, we matter now. We are here today, and we are speaking, and we are not going to stop speaking. Today, I stand here with the women who have really helped me to find the strength to come out and come forward to share my story for the very first time. Together, we are stronger than ever. While she may not be with us, Virginia Roberts, we will continue to use our voices to strengthen yours always. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Courtney Wild. I just wanted to take a second and just have a moment of silence for all the women survivors that aren't here with us today, that passed away due to anxiety, depression, trying to keep up with this case. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. My name is Courtney Wild. I was only 14 years old when I was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by a 13-year-old friend of mine. The details of the abuse that he inflicted on me for years is not important today. In 2028, I was cooperating with the federal government and the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. They sent me a letter telling me to be patient because this was going to be a lengthy investigation, but at the same time, they refused to talk to me and tell me what was going on. So I hired an attorney, Brad Edwards, because I was hopeful to get some answers. When I walked into his office at 19 years old, Brad sued the government for refusing to tell me what was going on under the Crime Victims' Rights Act. The only reason anyone ever found out that the government had already given Jeffrey Epstein immunity through the non-prosecution agreement was because our lawsuit forced the government to tell us. Otherwise, nobody would even know that today. Sometimes it's hard to believe that I had to sue the United States just to learn that my abuser was given immunity. I started as Jane Doe, but I decided I was proud enough to take on our country, and I was on the right side of history. We fought the government for 10 years to prove that the government violated our rights as crime victims and the crime victims' rights in order to protect pedophile. We had to win the 11th Circuit Court Appeals to force the government to turn over thousands of pages of emails between Jeffrey Epstein and the government. Those emails provided the proof that the government worked very hard with Jeffrey Epstein to violate our rights. Why? Why did the government work so hard to protect Jeffrey and not so hard to protect me and my other innocent friends? Why was Jeffrey so important to the government, and why was I so insignificant? Why did nobody but our lawyers care before now? It seems people have only started to care because of Twitter and politics. But I would like to say this has nothing to do with politics. This is not a blue thing or a red thing. This is an everyone thing. We can all agree on this. With the injustice that has happened here. Multiple, over and over. Everybody that talks about this just seems to make it worse. We need transparency. It's time for us to see beyond the curtain. Why was Jeffrey Epstein so protected? Who is still being protected? And who protected them all? So the world can understand how Jeffrey was able to abuse so many of us for so long. I was lucky to have Brad Edwards, Brittany Henderson, and Paul Cassell take on my case pro bono and fight fearlessly over 20 years' time. I would like to thank them, and I'd also like to ask the Trump administration to please sign off on the Crime Victims' Rights Reformed Act, the Courtney Wild Crime Victims' Rights Reformed Act. That's we're trying to get passed here so we can look the loopholes in the CVRA case that Epstein's attorney used to their benefit to get away with this. Thank you so much. Passed here. So
good morning. First and foremost, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to Brad and Brittany Edwards, Congressman Massey and Kana, and above all, the brave survivors who have entrusted us with the privilege of speaking today on behalf of Virginia. Robert Stufre, as her family, we are here today because we support H.Res.581, the Epstein Files Transparency Act, in its entirety. But as much as this bill is about shining a light on truth, it's not just about the bill. This is about justice. This is about survivors. This is about justice against the rich and powerful who have stolen something from these women and many children at the time, their freedom. The freedom to live their life without mental and physical scars that have been inflicted upon them by those who thought they were untouchable. The same freedom that these monsters took from these survivors, they should never be afforded. They should never be allowed to continue their lives with impunity. Let's be clear. This is not a political issue. This is not about left or right. This is about humanity. This is about doing what's right. And this is about ensuring that the future we leave behind isn't one where the powerful can hide behind their wealth, their influence, and their money to evade justice. Our plea to you, whether you're a dad, a mom, a brother, or a sister, look your young ones in the face. Look them in the eye and tell them you didn't stand against the very people who raped, molested, and preyed upon children and young women. Tell them you were willing to negotiate a deal. Money should never be what makes something right or wrong. If you vote no, your stance will be clear. You will be choosing to stand on the side of the rich and powerful, allowing money to buy your way out of the consequence. But here's my one ask. Look these survivors in the eye and tell them why. Then, look the people of the United States in the eye and tell them why. And then, when you're alone, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why. Virginia said it best, and I quote, "I have physical and mental scars that will never heal. I have memories that will never go away. They say time can heal, but this won't. Not until the justice system makes an example out of these people with so-called privileges, I just call it money. The only time I can begin to heal is when their freedom is taken from them, just like they did to me and literally thousands of other victims. The survivors of this horrific abuse are watching. The American people are watching. And history is watching. Which side will you be on? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jannalisa Jones, and I was only 14 years old when my friend brought me over to Jeffrey Epstein's house in Palm Beach in 2003. I had a terrible home life, but I was such an innocent kid then. I always did my best in school, and I had such a positive outlook on life. Until that day that I met Jeffrey, I had never been more scared in my life than I was that first time that he hurt me. I remember crying the entire way home, thinking about how I couldn't ever tell anyone about what actually happened in that house. This guy was so rich and had so many pictures with so many famous people, and no one would have ever believed me if I told them. I want to thank Congressman Rowe and Congressman Thomas Massey for having me here today. It was really hard for me to find my voice and to become strong enough to speak about my abuse. I didn't come forward until 2019, and even then it was like I was afraid of a ghost. I know that I was just a little kid, but sometimes I still feel like it is my fault that this happened. Being given the opportunity to speak at the United States Capitol building about something that is so important, not just to me and the women before you, but to the entire country. Together, we can finally make a change. And that is thanks to the people like these two congressmen and their teams who actually care about the victims. If you are a member of Congress and you're listening to all of us speak here today, please really listen to us. Please vote for this bill to be passed. Please recognize how important it is for transparency relating to Jeffrey Epstein. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, this does not matter. This is not about sides. You are an American and you are a person who has chosen to serve in an elected position to stand up for those you represent who cannot always stand up for themselves. We are those people. We are the Americans that you promised to protect. And we need your help. Please, President Trump, pass this bill and help us. Make us feel like our voices are finally being heard. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Haley Robson. I was a 16-year-old high school student athlete who made good grades and had high aspirations for college when I was recruited and asked by a classmate of mine alongside with a 20-year-old male if I wanted to give an old rich guy a massage. But what high school girl would not want to do that? That day changed my life forever, and when I got into the massage room, Jeffrey Epstein undressed and asked me to do things to him. My eyes welled up with tears, and I have never been more scared in my life. When it was over, he paid me $200 and requested in exchange that I bring a girl each time to make another $200. I told him I did not want to do that, and then he gave me an ultimatum. Either you come here and massage me when I call you, or you bring me friends of yours to massage, and I will give you $200 per girl for each time she comes. I felt and hoped to never hear from him again, but he called me every day. He was so wealthy and powerful, and he would not let me go. I felt I had no choice. If I disobeyed him, I knew something bad would happen. So knowing I did not want to be sexually abused, I started to bring him other girls from my high school, and he paid me $200 for bringing them. I just hoped each time it would be the last time. One day, the stepmom of one of the girls brought him and called the police on Jeffrey Epstein. The police then called me in for questioning. I had told them the truth despite the fact that I was a teenager and a minor, and I was able to tell the police the names of all the other victims. The police treated me like a criminal. I had, by this time, had turned 18. I had been with Jeffrey since I was 16 and for 2 years. So they had told me so they told me I was going to be arrested. My name was then distributed to the press as a co-conspirator of my abuser, who I detested. My entire world was crashing in around me, and I started being threatened and bullied, till this day still receiving death threats. I was singled out and for many years had to suffer a smear campaign of lies about me because of the way that I was portrayed by the press. The press made me out to be a predator when I was just a 16-year-old little girl who was sexually abused by a powerful man and an evil man. For years, I had no friends. My boyfriend was murdered, and there was nowhere to turn. The government, after investigating more, learned that I was truly a victim, but the damage was done and it was too late. There was no way to undo the harm the press had caused me. In 2019, I met Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson. They changed my life and they believed in me and have helped me to finally heal. Healing is a process, and I may never get there. But the passage of this bill requiring the government to produce all the evidence that it has gathered on Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell is a huge component of healing for me and for the many other women who have suffered for so long. For many reasons. First, we and the rest of the world need answers. Why was he so protected? And why didn't anyone ever care to stop him? It doesn't take a brain surgeon to know that if he is spending thousands of dollars a day paying high school girls he abuses and other access to, and had a lot of access to cash. I learned through my attorneys in the JP Morgan class action case that there were years when his staff withdrew over $1 million in cash a year. Was that not a big enough red flag? There were wire transfers to other victims, and the government did not protect us. The banks did not protect us. So lift the curtain on these files and be transparent. Every single time a new conspiracy gets circulated in the media, whether he is still alive, what powerful person had him murdered, who was on the Epstein client list, and there are names going around on TikTok and Instagram. We, the survivors, are suffering. We take our kids to school and everyone is talking about it. We can't read the news or do anything without hearing crazy stories that are only able to live on because the government continues to hide the evidence and the truth. So people just make up stories. Those stories hurt. They hurt real people who have already been hurt. And we have lost so many Epstein victims to suicide, and maintaining the real truth in secrecy only allows for conspiracy theorists to tell lies that drives up our anxiety and fears and will continue to lead to more pain, more suffering, and honestly, more deaths of innocent victims. It's time you do is right by us. Unseal all the documents. We are requesting transparency, and I am requesting every congressman and woman that goes against this bill be outed. I want to know. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Lisa Phillips, and I'm the host of a award-nominated podcast called From Now On, a platform supporting survivors. I want to thank all of my survivor sisters who came before me today. I'll be very short. In the year 2000, I was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's island while on a photo shoot on a nearby island. Who I saw and what I experienced there was a glimpse into a very dark and disturbing world. For years after, I tried to avoid Jeffrey, but he had introduced me to Katie Ford, the owner of the Ford Modeling Agency. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion, arts, and entertainment. This did not just happen to underage girls in Florida. In New York City, hundreds of young, ambitious women were abused by him. Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew, many participated, and many profited. And yet, he was protected. So I stand here today for every woman who has been silenced, exploited, and dismissed. We are not asking for pity. We are here demanding accountability, and I'm demanding justice. Congress must choose. Will you continue to protect predators, or will you finally protect survivors? And also, I would like to announce here today, us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know, who were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details.
Hello, my name is Shantae Davies, and I'm here before you today as a survivor of decades of pain, the trauma, and betrayal at the hands of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and the people who enabled them, and a government that for far too long refused to help. In 2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience, and when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life, and that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island, he listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful. I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And what I endured will haunt me forever. I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us. But one thing is certain, unless we learn from this history, monsters like Epstein will rise again. There are files, government files, that hold the truth about Epstein, who he knew, who owed him, who protected him, and why he was allowed to operate for so long without consequence. Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public? This secrecy is not protection, it's complicity. And as long as the truth is buried, justice will remain out of reach. That is why this bill matters. Passing it will, bless you, ensure that the suffering of survivors is not in vain. Passing it will bring accountability, transparency, and prevention. It will help protect the next generation of predators who seek to place themselves above the law through wealth, influence, and connections. This is not just my story. It is about every survivor who carries invisible scars. It's about the weight we live with daily. It is about the families broken and the future stolen. So I ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for? Let the public know the truth. We cannot heal without justice. We cannot protect the future if we refuse to confront the past. Thank you.
just give a round of applause for all the courage and strength that they provided. We now will take a few questions. You can always get Congressman Massey, me, or Congressman Green in the hallways and other places. If you have questions for us, that's fine. But I wanted to see first if you have questions for the lawyers and the survivors, and Brad will facilitate any of the questions to the survivors. Yes.
Yeah. This question would be for the survivors, Mr. Ellington. The president has said that this Epstein issue is a hoax. We get your reactions to what you think when you hear him say that?
I'll answer that. Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
What does it feel like emotionally to hear that?
It's being gutted from the inside out. Not that I would know what that feels like, but I imagine it's the anxiety buildup with the depression and the survival mode, and then your nervous system goes limp and ironically is shot, and it feels like you just want to explode inside because nobody, again, is understanding that this is a real situation. These women are real. We're here in person. To say that it's a hoax is just not, please humanize us. I would like Donald J. Trump and every person in America and around the world to humanize us, to see us for who we are and to hear us for what we have to say. There is no hoax. The abuse was real. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, I can't speak for that. What happens around the world politically, I cannot speak for that. But I am here with all of these women, including our attorneys, and I would be more than happy to meet with him, and I will meet him halfway.
The victims could respond with news from recently about Ghislaine Maxwell being transferred to a lower security prison. And you have that one, maybe you can talk about
her transfer. I'm happy to speak to that. We were horrified to learn that she had been transferred to a prison camp. She is someone who was found guilty by a jury of sex trafficking. She not only, we often hear that she procured women for Jeffrey, which I think is a very sort of polite and minimizing term. She also participated in abuse. She was a major architect of this scheme. And the fact that she's painted herself as a victim, I think is disgusting, and it was horrifying, I think, to us that we were not told about her prison transfer. We found out about it in the news. 1 minute, I think Anushka maybe.
So, Anushka DiGiorgio, I testified alongside Annie at the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. I was horrified when I found out not only had Ghislaine Maxwell been transferred to what's called a low security. It really is like a holiday camp. And then afterwards, I got a notification from the Department of Justice telling me that this was going to happen when it had already happened. This woman abused children. I was abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for over 10 years. Ghislaine Maxwell was present for some of my abuse at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein. She was present, she was complicit, she was enabling, and it is appalling and disgusting. And it's one of my worst nightmares that she not only be transferred, but the possibility that's very much going around that she might be pardoned. This is not okay, guys. This is not okay.
And I just want to add that I think it sends a very dangerous message to our country, to the young people in our country, that someone that we all know is aware of these crimes could be given a pass.
And just for the last survivor, that Epstein would brag about the relationship with Donald Trump. Could you please elaborate about that?
Shut it. To the microphones.
Get close.
Yeah, I did say that. trip to the Palm Beach residence. I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. He had an 8x10 framed picture of him on his desk with the two of them. Like, they were very close.
Excuse me.
One second.
What his client was that you ladies are putting together, you said it would be confidential, but will the public, could you clarify, will the public get to see that?
So Lisa, what's your envision here?
Then we're reaching out to survivors that are scared.
So come on.
We're reaching out to survivors that are scared to come forward, and that also know who they were trafficked to. So that's the list that we're compiling. We're not quite sure, how we're going to release that, or even if we're going to. The Department of Justice needs to release the list.
Right. For folks at home, they might be confused. The survivors know the names, have seen these powerful people.
Is that it? It looks like the feed. It looks like the feed ended. Somebody ended it. That was being live streamed on Thomas Massey's X account. Let me see if it's back up. So the victims claim that they're going to release their own list of men and women that abuse them. So this is going to be like the Epstein victims list.
He is beyond anything that we can possibly.
Answers.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm in politically correct. This is Patty Mellon, Pastor's Room. Alice speaking. This is Epstein Live press conference. Because the press conference X live stream ended. I'm sure there's other live streams still happening that maybe it's on TV. We could try to find it. Let's see. So we just clipped that up into a bunch of different YouTube accounts.
They're being asked about the lists that they're making themselves.
And some people talk to today are not signing the discharge petition because they say you don't want them to. Can you clarify if that is not? Do any of the survivors here not want to go through us?
First of all, our legislation, Rokana and I went through this, we talked about this, and we were very careful to make sure that there is an exception so that personally identifiable information, not just their names, but anything they can be identified by, would not be disclosed.
And can you speak to that as survivors yourself?
I think all of them are on the same page. They want everything released. Yes, unequivocally redact personally identified information and release everything else. Yeah, sure.
Maria, you have stayed silent for so many years. Today, this is the first time you understand correctly. You have never before gone public and to share this. Can you help us understand why today, why now, and why here?
Well, it is not okay for us to be silenced. And it's not okay for Jeffrey Epstein and everybody else to be put on a pedestal. I think everybody needs to hear from us because we know what went on, right? And there is not only me who's been silenced, there are hundreds of women that are silenced. My hope is to stop this abuse for the future, right? For people that are coming up for women. My daughter, for example, these women have daughters. They most certainly don't want that anymore. And I think mainly this is therapy for all of us too. We want to be heard. Nobody also has never asked me to speak. That's also another thing. So I've been saying for all of us here, we are here. We want this bill to pass. It is very important. Okay, and we need transparency. We are tired of looking at the news and seeing Jeffrey Epstein's name and saying that this is a hoax. We survivors and other victims to come along and speak up so that we can be more of a stronger voice and louder. And so what is your message to President Trump? Listen, I don't want to send a direct message to him. I'm already scared enough. Yeah, just pass the vote, listen to us. This is not a hoax. Like, it's not gonna go away. And like I said on my speech earlier, we're not gonna be silenced anymore. We will be speaking moving forward. Wherever we need to be, we will be, and we need to pass this.
So there's not a list. So here's what it was. Just like you heard everybody today, Jeffrey Epstein created through an organization that of enablers, of people that were on his payroll. It was a complicated scheme where others should still be investigated because they helped to enable him and operate this scheme. Without those people, he could not have done this. But the purpose was for him to personally abuse people. With that being said, certain of his friends, he farmed out certain of the women that he was exploiting too. But that wasn't the primary purpose of that scheme, and I don't think he wrote the names of those people down. There's a list of, hey, here's all of the people that I sent females to. That's just not how that organization works. I think that the safest thing for me to say is all files should come out, whether it's with the CIA, FinCEN, SEC, FBI. I'm not just making these up haphazardly. I'm giving you a roadmap where to look. Go ahead. I'll go first and then I'll let them. They're much more important than me, but I don't understand why it's a hostile act. I can tell you that I talked to President Trump back in 2009, and several times after that, he didn't think that it was a hoax then. In fact, he helped me. He got on the phone. He told me things that were helping our investigation. Now, our investigation wasn't looking into him, but he was helping us then. He didn't treat this as a hoax. So at this point in time, I would hope that he would revert back to what he was saying to get elected, which is, I want transparency. This about face that occurred, none of us understand it. In fact, I don't understand how this is an issue that's even up for debate. How do you not stand behind these women after you've heard their stories and know that hundreds of them were abused, and it was only because files are being kept in secrecy? The world should know who he is, who protected him, and the other people that are out there to be investigated need to be investigated.
Are there any people who are currently serving in government who are named, who you know of, are in these files, who you have relations with? Anything of that sort who Jeffrey Epstein connected you with? Are you willing to say yes or no?
How are you going to answer?
Hi, Anishka Giorgio. I have been threatened. I was threatened by phone. My daughter was threatened when I was volunteering to participate in, by means of being a witness in a civil lawsuit that Virginia Giuffre was bringing against Ghislaine Maxwell. I have been followed. I have been stalked. I have been followed not only by journalists, but by people who do not get out of the car and do not try and talk to me and just drive behind me as I drive my daughter to school. So the fear is very real for us. I have also been in multiple situations with both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell where they have been direct and indirect about implying and saying that if I was to talk, if I was to bring any kind of trouble, then there would be severe consequence, including death. Just to add to that, Maxwell also threatened my sister Maria Farmer. When the FBI did nothing about her initial report, she reported individually at that time, and then in 2002, we spoke to a reporter at Vanity Fair, telling our stories, fearful that perhaps other people were being harmed. We were not. We believed that was going to make a difference. We believed that would be put in print, and
story was crushed, and it was because of their power. And the message that we got from that was direct threats from Maxwell to my sister about her well-being and her safety and that of her family. So I think many people have similar stories of threats. That has been a very real part of this case.
Any of today's survivors speaking, did anybody here ever have any connection or interaction with Epstein's alleged financier, Leslie Lynch? No.
I just want to say one thing that's very clear when people say, please share names. There are names that are very well known, like that of Les Wexner, who everyone knows supplied an enormous amount of Epstein's financial wealth and allowed this operation to happen. So it's, I think, confusing to many of us why there have not been more ramifications for him, and he's been seen as a victim when clearly, I believe there's more to it.
So you represent Virginia Roberts for many years. She eventually had to recant the allegations that she made against Alan Dershowitz. She alleged that why is it that she should be How did the victims feel about the interview that was given to Ghislaine Maxwell by Todd Blanchard? What are
I don't know that we're able to reveal what we've seen and what we have not seen by way of protective order, but my point being in that circumstance was, if anybody wants answers, there's an easy place to get it. I told you where to get it. I said, the estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a service subpoena on them. They'll turn it over, and if we had service subpoena on them in the past, they would have turned it over, and we would have seen it, which I don't usually miss subpoenas like that. Go ahead.
Well, I definitely clarified my point, and I didn't say it like in a.
Let the American public decide. Instead of harassing, I hear you You've been hurt. And even Alan Dershowitz says release the files. Release the files. That is the answer, and that's what we're here for. That is.
I don't know who's, I don't think that we can answer that question. Did anybody see Trump with Epstein back then? This is really not a political thing. We want the passage of the bill. This is not to call out President Trump. My point was that he was friendly back then, did not think that it was a hoax, and was trying to help. And now it seems like all of a sudden somebody's in his ear and he's not. So I'm hoping he'll come back to where he was back in 2009, be on the side of the victims and stand with us. Go ahead.
Happy to speak on that because what I will say is she got this airtime and platform. Her voice was elevated way before our voices were elevated here today. And that same calm, manipulative voice that she had so polite there that day with Todd Blanche was the same polite, coercive, manipulative voice that I heard as she was grooming me to then send me off to the home of Jeffrey Epstein where he would assault me. So that's what she was doing for hours, speaking with me, building relationship with me, building trust with me, allowing me to believe that I was going to get this job, a dream job that I had been recruiting
she was the one who had courage to name names, speak out against people, and she was standing up against everybody at one time with an enormous amount of pressure.
And most of these women are here because of Virginia Roberts.
All right, last one.
Clearly not us.
I don't think that anybody knows, but I can tell you that in the oversight committee meeting yesterday, they indicated that they were all for transparency, releasing the files, and asked us to hold them accountable. Is that right?
Yeah.
They said hold them accountable, so we intend to hold them accountable. We're going to show them where to go with it, and as long as they're doing their job, they should. I'm going to turn it back over to Rokan.
Let me just say this. Let me say this. I think the people that were testifying here today are speaking up today. They are American heroes. Let's give them another round of applause. And you say, look, Thomas, Marjorie, and I, we're huge believers in the First Amendment, and we believe in free speech, and we take abuse all the time. But you see why it's so hard to do what they have done, because they come forward and you subject yourself to national scrutiny and national questioning. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart how appreciative I am and how proud I am of what you've done today. You made a big difference. Before I bring on Marjorie and then Thomas will have the last word, I want to summarize three basic things that I heard from the survivors. First, they want to know why our government covered up for someone rich and powerful. Why is it that we have two Americans? People say, why do you need to release the Epstein files if Epstein is dead and Maxwell is in jail? Because we don't know who all was involved in the cover-up. Why are there rich and powerful people who didn't have justice? They want to know that. Second, many said it's important for their own closure. They don't know their own abuse. They want to understand what's in these files for themselves. And third, we heard that there are many others who obviously were involved. And they want to know, and the American people deserve to know what was there in those files. I actually think they're helping us come together as a country. I've never done a press conference with Marjorie Taylor Greene before. I've done some with us, but look, this country is divided and exhausted. This is one thing that we can come together on. And I was very clear with Thomas. This is not against President Trump. I would like nothing more than a Truth Social post for him after this press conference saying just release the files. Be with Massey Kana. This is about something much deeper. It is about bringing this country together to stand for America's kids, to restore trust, and to move this country forward. So thank you to the survivors for helping us do that. Now I want to introduce Marjorie Taylor Greene.
For everyone watching at home, I think it's important to put yourself in these women's shoes. As you're questioning, why can't they just name the names? What you don't realize is they just told their stories of being raped and being abused, being victimized, being manipulated, being coerced, and basically held in a prison of captivity of sexual abuse while they were young teenagers and extremely young, vulnerable women. And in Jeffrey Epstein's home and the places they went with him, they saw the most powerful people in the world in his pictures, and they saw him with those people. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to name names like that? These are some of the richest, most powerful people in the world that can sue these women into poverty and homelessness. Yeah, it's a scary thing to name names, but I will tell you, I'm not afraid to name names. And so if they want to give me a list, I will walk in that Capitol on the House floor, and I'll say every damn name that abused these women. I can do that for them, and I'd be proud to do it. Now, another thing, this is not about politics, and this is a boiling point in American history where the American people, just like Roe just said, there's become two Americas. There's the America for the rich and the powerful and the elite, where they never face struggles or problems and never experience what real America goes through. And then there's forgotten America that faces all the problems and deals with all the issues and never gets justice for being sexually assaulted and raped by a monster. It shouldn't exist anymore, and people are sick of it. So let's recognize the fact that the administration before and the one before it and the one before it and the one before it and before it never did anything about this. So this isn't one political party or the other. It's a culmination of everyone work together to silence these women and protect Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal. And this is not just rich, powerful people. Think his drivers, his maids, his chefs, and all the people, people that worked in his home, security guards. I heard one story from a young woman that was being raped by Jeffrey Epstein when he was out on work release while he was serving time in prison and had an ankle monitor on his leg. Guess what? There was a police officer outside that door. So this list of names is quite a list of names, and it doesn't extend just in the rich, powerful circles. It extends down to the very bottom where people were paid. And again, I will say this, there's victims suffering today in similar circumstances, and they're terrified to name the names of the people that are currently abusing them. And so with these brave, courageous women fighting this fight, this is a fight for women and children and any person that is facing sexual abuse and rape and captivity and human trafficking right now. And so here's what I ask you in the press. Don't go for salacious headlines. Go for the truth. And defend these women. And help those of us in Congress that are crossing our political party lines and doing the right thing and trying to do it together. And thank you, Roe, and thank you, Thomas. And now I recognize Thomas Massey from Kentucky.
Well, there's three branches of government, and we're supposed to keep each other accountable. And that's what we're doing here today in the People's House. We're standing in front of the People's House with real people, not a hoax. And they've told their story. We wanted to give them a platform to speak, and they stepped up and they were brave. But I also today hope that they would persuade my colleagues to join this effort. But I found out something today that happened that I wasn't expecting. They persuaded me to fight even harder. I'm not going to give up. And I want to end with this call to action. First, a call to action to my colleagues, who just an hour before this press conference were prepared. They were given a fig leaf. We'll put a resolution on the floor so that you could say that you voted to protect the survivors. The resolution doesn't really do anything. And that's the oldest trick in the swamp. When you want to kill the momentum, when you want to kill initiative, you introduce a placebo, a different bill that does nothing, and then try to pull the wool over the eyes of American people. That's not going to happen this time. We demand real accountability. I encourage my colleagues, please, there's over 200 Republicans who have not signed this discharge petition. We only need 2 of them to sign it. And every Democrat will sign it. And that will get us the number we need to force this vote. To pass a law, not a polite request to the DOJ to police themselves. No, we need legally binding legislation to force that to happen. And my main call to action is to the people watching these live feeds that are going through these cameras right now. Congressman, listen to you. Light up their phones. Burn down the phone lines here in Washington, D.C. Ask them the questions that these survivors wanted you to ask them. Why won't you be for transparency? Don't accept their answer that the bill has a flaw or that the survivors don't want it. We know that's not true. They wouldn't be fighting it so hard in this town if it wasn't the real bill. So with that, please call your congressman. Tell him or her to get on this bill and to stand these survivors. Thank you and God bless. That's the end.